guys, so today's video is going to be my review of the Urban Decay Afterdark palette. So if you're new here and you stumbled across my videos, hi. But if you also want to see 5 different looks that you can do with this palette, be sure to check out my channel playlist. I have it up there and you can watch 5 different looks, see how the eyeshadows apply on the eye and whatnot. Kind of person that likes to see how they apply on the eye instead of finger swatches. That's kind of the best way for me to review products and really form my opinion. Yeah. Also, I'm a little bit sick, so my voice may or may not crack. My throat is really sore, so I apologize if I sound like bleh. The first thing I actually want to talk about today, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I want to talk about the actual packaging. This palette is really beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I considered cleaning it for this video and I went, actually no, let's not. I've been using this palette for like a week and yeah, it has that beautiful holographic shine on it. It's kind of cool. Do you see the fingerprints on this? It gets very, very fingerprinty, like very quickly, like very quickly. So this is the box that it comes in. It's kind of like the same sort of idea. The box is a little bit more holographic just because it's a cardboard, so they can kind of do that. But even the box itself gets like fingerprints on it and whatnot. This is actually what I've been using in the thumbnails for my videos this week because good luck trying to clean this thing every time I wanted to like hold it up for my thumbnail. So another weird thing about this before I even get into the eyeshadows, if you have this palette, please let me know if you've also experienced this. It's a little bit weird. I kind of just took like a little cotton pad and sort of rubbed the top of it to kind of get like the fingerprints off. That's typically what I do with palettes that I have. But whenever I do that, it kind of makes like a burning smell, like a burning plastic smell. I don't know if it's just like the layer of whatever is like material or chemical is used on this, but it just kind of like makes a weird scent. It's not very pleasant, like it's like a burning plastic smell. So I don't know what that is. At first I was kind of concerned because I was like, is that the eyeshadow itself? But it's not. The eyeshadows don't smell like anything. It is just the actual like outside plastic when you go to like rub, like if I were to rub my finger like that, it smells like burning plastic. I don't know. Just wanted to point that out there. If anyone has that palette, test it out and see. It's kind of strange. It's definitely whatever material they use like on the outside of this. A little concerning if you ask me, but I mean, not that big of a deal, but also a little weird, so I kind of wanted to put that in there. But moving on, so this is what the palette looks like. It does say Urban Decay Afterdark. I love the font though. It's Helvetica Ultra Thin. I'm that much of a nerd that I know that. So I really love the font, but then at the same time, it's super hard to like look at, like from a distance. You're like, what is this palette? Who knows? You get your big mirror, has the Urban Decay logo. You get your 10 shades as well as a double-ended brush, which I'm going to take that out. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So you do get these 10 shades, a nice range. You got a couple of lighter shades, more of your warmer shades, purples, and kind of like a cool tone shade. A little bit of a green that has a cool shift. So what's cool about this palette is actually the consistency and texture of the eyeshadows. It's a new formula to me. I don't know if Urban Decay's eyeshadows were always like this, but at least for me, I have nothing similar to the texture of these eyeshadows. I have things that are similar, but nothing quite like these. When you put your finger in them, they're a little bit soft and they have a really nice pigmentation. Finger swatches obviously aren't my favorite, but it's the best way to kind of show you guys. Fringe is beautiful. So they're soft and metallic. They got a bit of a duochrome, some of them, and a little bit of a shine to them. They're not full-on metallic, but they're not like a shimmery eyeshadow either. So what I kind of want to equate these to, just so you guys know, is actually the Kat Von D Metal Matte eyeshadows, so the metal ones. These ones are a lot more soft, like they're more squishy. So what I mean is that when you go to put your finger in, they feel more like a gel-like texture. These are very similar to the Makeup Forever ones. So the Urban Decay ones are close to the Metal Matte shadows, but I find these ones have a little bit more pigmentation when you go to blend them out because they're not that gel-like consistency. I find the Metal Mattes, when I use them, are very hard to use them just on a brush. I find I really had to pack them on or use my finger to get the maximum amount of pigmentation. So yeah, I was able to take a 217, a fluffy brush, and dip into these and blend it into the crease like I did today without any issue. So that was kind of nice because I found that the Metal Mattes, as well as some of the Makeup Forever ones, because they have such a gel gel-like consistency. It makes it harder to blend out on a fluffy brush. They just don't really move, and so it kind of limits them in what you can do on the eye. But these ones I was able to take them into the crease, blend them out, and then if I wanted a little bit more pigmentation, use a flat stiff brush, pack it on, use my finger to pack it on. I know some people don't like using fingers to apply makeup, but I honestly find that that's the best way to use any sort of shimmery or metallic shade. If you really want that like intensity of color, is to use them with a finger. Okay, I thought this palette was super unique, and it is for a couple shades, but not entirely if you have both the Metal Matte palette and this. I'm gonna do a couple finger swatches here just to kind of show you the difference. Alright, so this one here is the dark blue in the Afterdark palette. So this is the color in Paralyzed. And then this is the dark blue shade in the Metal Matte, which is called Nebula. Nebula is a little bit more of a brighter blue, but on the eye they're both very, very similar. So just keep that in mind. Next up we have Fringe from the Afterdark palette, and below that is Watt from the Metal Matte. Fringe is definitely a little bit more blue, Watt's a little bit more green. They're both very close though, and I find Fringe just a little bit more pigmented. Alright, so the next up is just comparing the lightest purple, just for comparison. So the top one is Druggy from the Afterdark palette, and below is just kind of a light purple. That one is Twinkle from the Metal Matte. So they're definitely very different. The lightest shade in this one is much darker than that. Alright, so the next two I have to compare are these two. This is kind of the more warm tone purple in the Afterdark palette. This one is called Backfire. And then below that in the Metal Matte is Volt. I was surprised because these ones are very, very similar. And I actually found Backfire a lot creamier and more pigmented than the Metal Matte shadows. So I actually like this top one a lot better, but very similar colors. Alright, the next comparison are the kind of bronzy shades. So the top one is Off Duty, and then below is Synergy from the Metal Matte. Very similar. Synergy is a little bit more of a brighter bronze, but on the eye, very close. I also find that Synergy from the Metal Matte palette is a little bit more creamier than Off Duty. Both of them work just fine, but just so you know. Alright, and then the last swatch is a comparison of the kind of brighter orangey golds. So in the Afterdark palette, this is the color in Sinful, and then the Metal Matte, it's the color in Flash. These are similar enough in the sort of like concept of the shades, but Sinful is definitely way more orange, whereas Flash is more of like a golden orange. So a little bit brighter and a little bit more yellow. But yeah, so that is kind of the swatches and comparisons between the two palettes. The other shades that I have in the Urban Decay palette, I personally don't really have dupes for. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting because I literally used this palette for a week and had no idea that a lot of the colors were very similar to the Metal Matte. I was kind of going along the idea that these were super, super unique, when in actuality they're slightly different but very close to other shadows. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to just look at how similar some of the shades are. They're a little bit different and obviously a different formula, but they're very, very, very close. And I was surprised that like some of the Metal Mattes were drier than these, and some of these were more creamy than the Metal Mattes. It's interesting. So the formula actually between the two are pretty close depending on like the eyeshadow that you're using. Alright, so next I want to talk about the brush that they include in the palette. So it is just like a double-ended little Urban Decay brush. It's kind of cute, it has like a clear handle. I don't know, I like that. And then what I really liked about this brush is that they included this little tiny, like almost like inner corner detail work, like right in the inner corner underneath the eye. Little kind of brush. I thought it was really cool that they included that. So, you know, grabbing this palette and sort of doing underneath the lashes or on the inner corner is a really good option, and I thought it was neat that they included a brush that actually works for the palette. This currently retails for $59 Canadian, so that equals out to $6, $5.90, $6 an eyeshadow. Now for $6 an eyeshadow, I definitely think this is worth it for me. They're a little bit similar to shades that I have, but as I mentioned before, the consistency of these are really good. I found issues blending out the Metal Mattes in with other matte eyeshadows. That was a big complaint I had for that palette, was I found that they needed to be only lid shades, whereas this, I'm happy to say, can be blended out nicely into the crease and smoked out. and they just work better. They're just easier. One thing I will mention is that I was able to create a couple looks using just this palette because the colors blended out so well, but I feel like this palette obviously pairs a little bit better incorporating some mattes or whatever colors that you have from your own collection. So really I think that's kind of an interesting feature about this palette is that you're able to use it on its own for certain looks, but then you have the option of pulling in some other colors that you have as well, and they pair really well and they blend really well with matte. Alright, so moving on to who I think this palette's for. Definitely if you like color, this is going to be something that's right up your alley. If you like the more metallic color shades as well, I think that's awesome. Now, one thing I will say is, like, if you have the metal matte, deeply consider buying this palette because there are some shades that are similar. Like, really take a thought and consider whether or not you need this. If you don't have the metal matte palette, get this. As far as I know, I think this is going to be permanent to their line. I think this is what's replacing the electric palette. So there's no real rush for you to run out and get it, like panic and limited edition, all that crap. So as far as I know, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's permanent. So yeah, definitely go into Sephora and swatch it if it's something that you're interested in. You'll get a feel for the consistency as well that I mentioned, and if it's something that you like. Different people like different things, so that's why I always suggest you guys to go in and swatch it if you can. But yeah, overall, using it for a week and a bunch of different looks, I really like this. It's going to be a staple in my collection for sure, and I'm definitely going to come back and use it for 5 more looks because I feel like I didn't use it to the best of its ability even so far, even using it for 5. Have a lot of other different creative things that I want to do with this. I think it's worth it, and I really liked it. Really think about if it's something that you need. And yeah, so hopefully this review was able to help you out a little bit, give you certain things to think about and some comparisons as well. As always, leave any comments down below. Do you have this palette? Do you like it? Whatnot? Is it something that's on your list? If you don't like it, tell me why. I'd always love reading that as well. Next week, so you guys know, we're going to be doing the Pastel Goth palette, which I'm like super stoked about. Hopefully everyone is doing good, and until my next video, I'll talk to all you soon. Bye!